Hey Creative, it's Black Speculative Fiction Month and I've got a very special episode ready for you. This is part 1 of my conversation with my friend Silas Tibbs, who is an award-winning screenwriter, producer, director, and executive producer of Dreamdoor Films. And we are talking about how to be creative and contrary without crisis. Listen, you know it's good when we start talking about God and Star Trek. Let's get into it. Well, first and foremost, welcome. I'm so pleased to have my friend and hopefully eventually colleague. Okay. I know.
How can we skip to that?
I know. My friend Silas Tibbs, who is a Midwest-based director, screenwriter, and emerging novelist, whose high concept work explores human connection, loss, and transformation. Okay. And I love that because I'm into transformation. He's got over 14 years of experience. He crafts emotionally cathartic, visually striking stories across film, media, and literature. And he's here to talk with us about his story. And I am so grateful that you are here. Welcome.
I am happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, you are officially part of the Black Speculative Fiction Month podcast series. I just thought of that right now.
I love that. I'm at home is what you're saying then. I'm at home.
Yes, you're at home. You're here. You're at home. You should feel totally at home. And I think I was first introduced to you through was your film Attrition.
Yes.
Which I saw at a film festival, but I know we're going to end up talking about that. Part of what I want to do here, though, is to talk about how you got there, because you're doing all of these creative things. You are writing, you are directing, you are doing film, media, all the things. You're everywhere. When did you really start taking this work seriously?
I would say, I think that it's hard to pinpoint because it's something that I've been doing since I was very, very young.
Okay.
I'm actually, and this will tie into something later, I'm sure, but I actually think that a lot of it started with my mom reading to me when I was very young.
Okay.
So it was, and these are those young images that I can remember like vividly, where like bedtime stories, but they would be not simplistic bedtime stories. They would be old books. And I just remember being young, mom's next to me in bed reading these bedtime stories, and my imagination is just, I didn't need pictures. Like my imagination was just going. And from that point, I always wanted to make stories because my imagination, after the books were closed and the stories were done and she was gone and the lights were out, my imagination was still going. And it just created this like desire to, you hear a story and you're like happily ever after, and you're like, no, there gotta be more. Like there has to be
There's
more to the
more,
story.
right?
And so
where's the series?
Exactly. Like that's it. So I would just daydream about stories. And the first time that I ever remember creating anything was maybe I was in kindergarten, and the assignment was to write a book about something or write a story about something. And
Wow.
I remember this is, I don't know if I've ever shared this story anyway. This is the first story that I ever consciously remember writing. And it was literally about a pencil who came to life and went around the house like having adventures.
Wait a minute. So two things are happening right now. Two things, okay?
Yeah.
Two things are happening right now. First of all, we have an exclusive. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is the first time this story has been told.
Right. Original early work exclusive.
Right.
Secondly, I love that the thing that you were writing about was already like it wasn't just fiction, but it was kind of leaning into that what if question that happens with science fiction. Like what if the pencil that I used to write could actually talk, could actually experience things.
And you exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So you said something else when you were talking about your mom reading to you, this idea that you didn't need pictures. Like that must have meant something to you that you were able to visualize.
It didn't. I mean, it's something like I wasn't necessarily consciously aware of it. As a matter of fact, it took me a while to realize that not everyone wasn't necessarily like that. Like I talked to someone recently, and I was like, "So when you daydream, like what do you see?" And they're like, "I don't daydream." And I was like, "That's interesting. Like that's interesting to me because those books had pictures. Those
Yeah, these
books
are picture books.
they had pictures, but I never found the pictures very interesting." Because I felt like
Okay.
my imagination, I heard the words and my imagination showed me something else. And then when I looked at the pictures, I was like, oh,
Well, that's disappointing. Right.
that's
Well,
disappointing.
that's disappointing. That's not at all what it should look like.
So I eventually just started ignoring the pictures and
Oh, wow.
then continuing the story in my mind because that was a little bit more interesting than the book that I read. And I found that I did that with just about everything. So our family is very interesting. And one of these days I'm going to write a book called Jesus and Star Trek because
Put me on the list for that immediately. Immediately.
because
Oh my God.
my parents were pastors, and so I grew up, memorizing Bible verses and
Right.
being in church for 19 and a half hours every day. And
100%. Yes. You were a
but then
PK.
I was a born and bred PK, but then we would all leave and we would go home and watch Star Trek at 10 o'clock every night. And my parents were raised on Star Trek. Like they watched the original series and swore by it,
Here.
listen,
Present and accounted for all of us who were
listen.
watching Star Trek, the
And
original.
that's another thing too. It's the how many African Americans gravitated to something like Star Trek because there was actually some semblance of representation and
There was representation.
a future that we could participate in. Like, oh, you guys actually count us as part of the future. So, and also the context of time puts it in an even different perspective. So we had the civil rights movement, and so having Ahura there was a thing. Having Sulu there was a thing.
Yeah.
Because of all the wars with
Right.
Japan and Vietnam and Korea
Right.
and et cetera,
And
et
the way
cetera.
that Asian, identity was inflated. Yeah.
To have an Asian on the bridge of a ship, piloting the ship, mind you, piloting the ship in an age where there was so much hatred against Asians because we were at war with them, that also was bold.
It was so bold in
Chekhov
so
was
many
bold.
ways.
Being Russian during the Cold War, that
Yes.
was bold.
It was
So
very bold.
yeah.
And it was imagining a future beyond, right? Because that's the whole thing. It was imagining beyond the current context of, hostilities, political hostilities. Like, what is it beyond this? And as that little girl who was watching, Lieutenant Uhura, I was just like, is this a beautiful Black woman on the bridge of a ship? And she is everything.
Right. She was in first crush categories.
Right. Like what? Like, I mean, wow. I mean, so
I still think that like innovations need to be made there. I think especially right now when it comes to Black males in particular, we need to see more. Seeing LeVar Burton, growing up watching LeVar Burton as Geordie LaForge was cool.
Huge.
It was the part that was not seeing him was cool. Seeing him always as the underling
or alien
wasn't cool. Like the points where he got to actually be a leader, and I think that that's where there's still progress needs to be made. Like I'd love to see us not as just we're present.
We're present. We're present. And I'm thankful for, casting that allows for the centering of Black presence. I mean, just the centering. And there's nuance to that, right? Yeah. It's not all been the same. Interestingly enough, I see so much more of that coming out of British based work. than I do out of American. Am I wrong? Is that
You
an
are not.
assumption?
You are not
I'm seeing
wrong.
so much more coming out of the. So we just started. Do not laugh at me, but I can't watch everything at once. So I just started watching the Lazarus Project,
Okay.
um, and it's a Black British male lead,
Hmm.
in that, and nuance, but that is still like very amazing to someone from generationally for me,
It's
and
yeah.
watching all of the characters who had significant roles. I mean, even going back to like Firefly and
I
some
love
of these
Firefly. Yeah.
other, yeah, oh my God, I was obsessed. I was like, why is this story ending? I'm sick.
First of
But just
all,
like
listen.
all of the Black
Yeah.
women too, right? Like, all, I can't think of everything, but I was watching everything that I could find with those characters, because I wanted to see myself
Right.
represented on in those
And
spaces, and I
so
can
I
see what
think
you mean, wanting
it's
Black male representation in
and I
those
think
spaces.
we need that to show what that kind of leadership looks like. But I also think it's no coincidence that right now there's a decentering. Not that even we're coming off an era where
Hmm.
there was more of us. Now
Yeah,
we're
for sure.
where I see all of the signs that we're sliding back into an era where
Sliding
they're trying to
right back into it, for
erase
sure.
that. And there was something very uh Black Panther. This is always the go-to, right? Black Panther.
Yeah, for
But I
sure.
think there's a reason why. Like, so Black Panther came out the same year that my father died.
Oh, wow.
And so there were all of those themes were in there, like this idea of like transference
Yeah.
of legacy and
Yeah. Oh my
all
goodness.
that
That
stuff
must
was
have
like
been,
it was
yeah.
very my whole family went to watch it and it was a very there were moments where the
Hmm.
whole row was just quiet because we knew what
Mm.
they were talking about.
Yeah.
And to me, there was something, it's like Captain Kirk and Batman, right?
Yeah.
Bond, Kirk, and Batman. And they
Hmm.
are this is what a masculine,
This is what a masculine hero,
charismatic man is,
charismatic
right?
hero. Hmm.
And so we grew up internalized watching that. Like there's Picard, but sometimes Picard moved a little too slow for me.
Hmm.
I did appreciate his philosophy.
Yeah.
But you
I
have
love
like those
Picard,
figures.
but I probably
Yeah,
imagined it was an age thing. It was like, okay, grown folks that have,
cool. Yeah, we got it. We're in space though. Let's do something cool. But
yeah, yeah,
uh, so then we see T'Challa's father die, and
yeah.
then we see Chadwick Boseman, and it was something about the cut of his suit and his
Hmm.
haircut that reminded me of every Black man
Yeah.
that was charismatic,
Hmm.
intelligent, leadership qualities. People respected him. He wasn't sunned, as they say, where like you go into these spaces and you're a Black man. They're like, well, we'll be your mentor, and you're like, we are equal. I don't need to be mentored by you.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
if you go back and look at the tropes, like it's
Yeah, he
always a Black
carried.
man alongside.
Yeah, yeah.
But in this
But
movie, it
but
was
he
T'Challa.
carried it. It was, just the reality is Black Panther was blackety black for a lot of us. It
Yeah,
was just like this was a representation that went beyond being an addition or being represented. It centered,
and
it
for
centered.
me, it was the first time that I felt the physical feeling of chills, catharsis
Mm,
from seeing representation. Because
mm,
I was looking at a man that was closer. I think he was like in his a little bit older, closer
mhm.
to my age, and I'm like, I'm grown and I'm feeling chills,
Yeah.
you know. And it kind of was tied into that, like you're the guy now, you're the man now,
Yeah.
you know.
Legacy and
And
yeah.
I was like, I did not realize how hungry I was for that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And I'm like, why isn't there more of this? And I know
Of
why there's not
this.
more. I know why there's
Yeah.
not more of it.
Right.
Um,
But your heart says,
yeah.
why is there not more of this? Because
And
that's what it says.
I don't know if I don't know if that need is easily translated to people outside the community. because
Mm,
they lived in a world where they have it all the time. So to them it's trivial. To them it's
mm.
like absolutely trivial. To us it's like, yo, like
It's everything.
that's, and so who do we lose that year? Chadwick, Kobe Bryant.
Mm,
Uh, Not long after that, we lost Sidney Poitier.
mm-hmm.
Recently, we lost James Earl Jones.
Yeah. James Earl Jones. Yeah.
Right
And that
now,
was
yeah,
and that was just across the spectrum of sci-fi. It was just like, oh my God, what are we gonna do?
his name Theo. Malcolm Jamal Warner. Just lost Malcolm Jamal
Oh, yes.
Warner.
Yes.
Somebody needs to protect LeVar Burton.
I know.
Because
I
it's like these figures of
yeah.
black men who have been in prominent places on the
Mm-hmm.
acting side. They've been in drama, they've been in sci-fi, they've been
Yeah.
all these things, like,
And have had a huge impact. Like
and we
they're
don't have a replacement
talented.
right now. Yeah,
Well, we are not seeing those replacements
true.
as easily, that's for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm confident, and when you're just running across some people on social media, et cetera, you're like, because everything's so decentralized,
right,
it used to be we were all swooped in on the same shows, same time, same
right,
days. Things being decentralized means that, you know, Black speculation is also decentralized,
right.
and finding those mentors, shamans, representatives, all those
Yeah,
stuff, it's a different kind of game right now.
and I do
So,
think it does exist in the UK a little bit more prominently than here.
well,
It
that
exists a little bit more prominent. But then also going back to that
makes
point, I
sense.
also think they have more respect for the craft as opposed to its commercial viability.
Hmm.
And my unfortunate prediction when it comes to American art and creativity is it's already lagging behind and it's going to get worse. Being raised a preacher's kid, like it's very spiritual and religious, and like there's this idea that I don't necessarily agree with, that it's anti-science.
I
um
don't agree either.
I don't agree
I was
either.
like,
And then you go over to Star Trek, and it's humanism and enlightenment philosophy, and aliens. We're not talking about angels, we're talking about aliens. And so
right.
I was kind of raised with that dichotomy. And I also think that's something that helped me be able to hold two different ideas in my head that seemed contrary without having a crisis of science or faith.
I was
Uh,
just going to ask you that, like just the idea that it was always both for
yeah,
you,
it's always
right?
been
Like it
both.
was it
Yeah.
was always both things as like legitimate inquiry, right? Like
Hmm.
legitimate, like why are we here and what if we're here? Like
Right. Exactly.
this duality is happening just
Yeah.
naturally. Okay.
And
So
so
many
that
things
ended up
make
the next thing I remember writing. I don't know why I'm starting with. Well, I know why I'm starting with writing. The next thing I ended up writing was like Star Trek fan fiction before I knew what fan fiction was, because I was
Probably,
like,
yes.
yeah, because it was that continuation of like, well, so they don't have more stories. That's lame.
not, not what the season ended. What does
Yeah,
that
the
even
season
mean?
ended.
Like
So
we're
I
exploring.
I remember buying, or not buying, but like, so I was also homeschooled. So I was
Okay.
already in the vein of like, and my parents both had college degrees. So like
Hmm.
it was still a very structured education. It wasn't loose. It was very, thought program. My dad, before he was a pastor, was in psychology. My mom was in business and communications. So
Oh, wow.
we always had that kind of structured learning environment.
You were
Uh,
you were the kid of two academics who were also pastors.
yes.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I feel like this is an ideal situation. No wonder you're amazing.
I work on it. I
Yeah.
work on it.
No,
But
I love this. I love this
yeah,
because all of that is making a lot of sense to me, and the way that you manage, spirituality and science. Like you
yeah.
don't see those things as like
I
battling against each other all the time.
I don't. And I always found that to be ridiculous because
Yeah,
I mean, not to like
same.
go down that rabbit hole, but like from my
Oh,
point of
we love
view,
rabbit holes.
if God created the world, then all science is doing is telling us the technicality of how he put it together.
That's
And the,
exactly how
the
I
two
feel about
halves don't answer. If you're looking for the Bible to be a science book, you're always going to be disappointed.
it. Correct. Correct.
And if you're looking for science to answer questions about divinity, you're always going to be disappointed because science is going to hit a terminal limit where it's like, well, like I don't even necessarily think that the Big Bang is in contradiction to Genesis,
I don't,
which
I,
is
and quiet as it's kept, I don't think all of us think that. I often tell people, I'm like, if you've ever been a parent, then you understand the concept of, I'm going to tell you what you need to know right now,
mhm,
because that's what
exactly,
matters right
exactly.
now. And you don't need to know all the details and how I did it and when I did it and how long it took and all this stuff. Here's what you need to know.
Yeah, and
You
you
need to
can't
know
know.
A, B, and C.
Yeah, and it's because you can't. So even that approach changed how I viewed even reading the Bible because
Mm,
I would obviously like you read it as text and like divinely inspired, etc. But then
sure.
also I read it as a story, which helped me later down the line when I actually learned how the original texts were written and read. Not every book was written literally. A lot of books were written uh I don't want to say poetic, but
Well, I
and
mean,
now
there are
they were
songs, there
yeah
are poems, there are, yeah, all of
every
that.
section exactly every section of books. So like I read Genesis. And my first thought was, well, if God were going to show a dude how he made the earth, he obviously would have to do it at an accelerated pace. So
And
he's
through a story,
and through a
right?
story and through a story.
Yeah.
And so he's not going to be a say, and then there was the Precambrian explosion, and then that lasted about several million years, which we're going to
Right.
watch in real time, you know.
Okay, so sit
So
down and make yourself comfortable because I'm going to
yeah,
explore all the bits and pieces of how that
Genesis
actually happened.
exactly. Genesis reads to me like, I'm going to play this for you in fast forward.
Right.
And so then Moses writes it literally within the
Yeah.
span of time that it was exposed to him. And then thousands of years later,
Hmm.
after, they made the Bible unable to be read unless you read Latin and they could do whatever they want. It created like this
So it was
disconnect.
canonized and
Yeah. Like it
translated
created
in
like,
certain, yeah.
but if you actually go talk to any theologian, anyone who has a master's of divinity, like Catholic priest, anyone who's on the other side and they studied it and they're like, it's not as cut and paste as
Mhm.
we made it because they made it in a way to simplify something complex. And we take the
Right.
simple and then we canonize the simplistic version. And I'm like, I just don't see it that way. Right? I just don't see it that way.
Yeah.
And I mean
The
that leads
profundity of what had to be encapsulated, because people are always going to ask, where did I come from?
right.
Where,
Exactly.
why am I here? Where did I come from? And, to kind of, I always go back to the idea of parenting because I learned so much
Hmm.
from, about so many things, just dealing with a younger person. Like if you're a teacher, if you're a parent, if anything that you might do with young people where you find yourself having to explain a thing
Right.
and you're like, here's what I know about a thing,
Right.
and here's what you can receive about a thing.
Exactly. And so you and I think that's the nature of story itself. I think and
Yeah,
this is like I think that like art, creativity, story is so deeply connected with how we interpret the world, each other,
for sure.
community, but then also how we interpret God. Like we need that because it's the only thing really that can work across the board
Right.
no matter who or where you are. Like people understand story, and
Hmm.
if you can make it into a story, then they get it. And it's not necessarily the literal aspects of the story that you're pushing for them to get, but the conclusion that they draw at the end of the story.
It's what you learn.
Yeah, it's what you
It's
learn
it's the
exactly.
things that we learn. That's exactly the point.
I think people who love sci-fi should do sci-fi. Even if you're
Mm,
not a writer, if you love sci-fi and you're a gaffer, then I want that
okay.
one over another gaffer because the gaffer will be like, man, this is cool. How can I get a light up in this corner to create this effect? As opposed to, sorry, we can't do it. It's how Citizen Kane got made. The DP Citizen Kane didn't he that was his first movie. And so he had
Really?
that was his first movie. He had no concept of can't do it.
See, because what I'm hearing really is like, when you're deciding on a collab, when you're thinking about a collab, the best collab you're going to have is people who think sci-fi,
Yeah, and that's
who
I
come
had
from who come from
yeah,
a sci-fi state of mind. I
yeah.
mean,
I mean I had to learn that the hard way, but
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, uh
It's not necessarily easy to find because people can get caught up in their limitations, right?
yeah.
But that's at the very core of sci-fi, is what you were saying, is that curiosity, like the what if and how can I,
How
you
the what
know?
if and the how can I for sure. Like
Yeah.
and this is the sad part of being African American and doing sci-fi. You're already in a space where they want to shrink you anyway.
Mm,
And
mm,
then once you start and this is why you don't see them a lot. You
mhm.
start proposing big budget anything, they just kind of look at you like, you know, that's for Denis, that's not for
Mm,
you. That's for
right.
George, that's for Spielberg,
Right.
it's not for you.
That's not your lane. And but
Yeah,
that is what is slowly being built, and that's
it
what's
has yeah,
exciting. And you're part of that because people are slowly kind of building that out to say, as a matter of fact, we are in these lanes not only by virtue of representation. To me, Black speculative horror operates differently.
yeah,
It balances between thriller and speculation, and it results in something that might be horrifying or
right,
terrifying, but not in the same way that the genre presents itself as,
yeah, it's a
the
trick,
normal genre, as gratuitous violence and
yeah.
you got two choices, red pill, blue pill type, either way you're gonna die type violence. Like,
The splat that's you're referring to, like Saw and Splat Pack and all that, that was probably one of the worst things to happen to American cinema, but that's a different conversation.
different
uh
conversation.
it was it was
But
it was an
part of the reality that Black speculation does horror different as well.
yeah, and it I think it's a trick. It's a marketing trick. How do you get money for a movie?
Mm.
Horror sells well, can you make it
Yeah, you got to
scary?
slide it into that. Yeah, it's got to have a
Sure,
measure.
yeah, I'll make it
Can you
scary.
make it scary?
Yeah, I'll make it scary.
You can pull stuff straight out of our history and make it I
And
mean,
that's where it's different.
that's why
So
it's different. So,
if you look, there's an anthology book called Echo Tree
hmm.
by Henry Dumas, I think. Uh,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
it's kind of the beginning of what do they call it? Black surrealism,
Okay.
and Black
Mhm.
surrealism has a lot of these unsettling elements
Yeah.
that, for the unknowing, you could sell to them as horror. This is scary. It's really just an analogy of what colonialism has done. But
What is
this is
already done.
horrifying.
Yes.
This
Yes,
is horrifying.
exactly. This is scary and horrifying. But this goes
Yeah.
back to some of the very first Black speculative fiction, as you know, just like by short stories by W.B. Du Bois, like The Comet, or
Hmm.
just smaller, even older references that sort of suggest a what if in light of the current horrible
Right.
scenario, but like turning that on its head in some way doesn't seem like it might be, sci-fi or fantasy or horror in this moment, but
But it's the same
when
what
you
if.
think about it, it does the same things. It's just like maybe there's like a new genre in there that is just like historical horror, like
I think that's what's
history
being
based.
forged. I think that's what's being forged
Yeah,
right
it's
now
like that's what
is
I see with Cooler. It's just like
yeah.
it's this historically based horror, and I'm not sure that I don't know that it fits. I will argue with
It
people. I'm
doesn't.
like, that is not
It
horror.
doesn't.
It
What
is,
was Get Out?
yeah. Yeah,
What was
that's what
Get
I
Out?
mean. To me, that's historically significant thriller, right? Like it's, I don't know, it's
And
something
that's,
else.
I think, the only reason
It's
that we're
science
using these
fiction.
terms. It's science
I
fiction.
think of it as science
Yeah.
fiction. It's Black speculative fiction. It's science fiction. And
The,
that to me is what Get Out was. And they're like,
we
oh,
use
it's
these
horror.
terms.
It's like, that's not horror.
We use those terms just on the business end. The perspective is we use those terms to get it sold and marketed.
Yes.
Because they don't know how to package what we make. And so it forces us to adopt terminology that limits it.
Right.
And I think that we're going to see more and more Black writers, filmmakers, creators, even in music, where I don't care what genre you tell me to put this in. I make whatever. And it's going to forge this path.
This other space. Oh, but that's why it's called speculation. Right? Because it's so hard to place in a single category. And not only for that reason, but also, because I deal with talking about the sacred so much, because it also deals in the supernatural so often 100%. That folks are like, no, that's fantasy. And I'm like, is it fantasy when people actually practice and believe a certain thing? Like, that's not, it's fantasy for maybe somebody, but that's not the part that's fantastic.
Right. That's not the fantastic part. That's actually
that's not the fantastic part. Even though, which is why people begin to talk about like Toni Morrison as horror, and maybe even Kindred as,
we don't know.
Octavia Butler's Kindred as, is this horror? It's sort of like, because it's doing a nuanced thing that involves both belief and disbelief, the possible and what people perceive as impossible, science and time, and it's doing all of those things at once. And like you said, it's like genre doesn't control Black speculation.
And I think that we need to keep pushing against that, because that is also part of that limitation. And I was talking to someone about even the concept of right left.
Yeah.
Partisan biases, whatever. We're in a quandary because neither of them truly serve us or service us.
Right.
Because it's always shifting. And if we allow ourselves to be defined by all of those terms, we get shrunk down into something that's not true.
Oh, come on, Black speculative politics. Okay? Black speculative politics. Okay, listen. Silas, we've got part 1, 2, and 3.
Forever and ever, yeah.
We could go on and on and on and on and on. Hey creatives, if you're hearing this, then you've been listening to the Vision Builders podcast with Dr. Helene, your writing life coach. Join me next time to get more insights, tools, and resources to help you get the clarity and direction you need to finish that project and build your vision. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Y'all know how this works. And share. Let somebody else know what you are learning in this podcast. Be sure to check the show notes for a link to my website where you can sign up for my mailing list and get even more tools and resources. With that, I will sign off. Bye.